Keep 100% of your claim. G4 Claims.
If you've been hurt in a road accident that wasn't your fault, you should really talk to G4 Claims first. Unlike road accident solicitors, we don't charge you for our services, which could see you better off. To keep 100% of your compensation, have a chat with Nicole and the team. You'll be glad you did. Search online for G4 Claims.
Keep 100% of your claim. G4 Claims.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Sellik the Thunder podcast. It's the big number. It's the Celtic number. It's 88th episode. 88 of the podcast, which begs the question, which famous number 88s have we had? Pull on the hoops.
Get a hooper.
Hey, you were dying for that. All 87 episodes have led to this. Who else?
Could do it in chronological if you want. Ibu
Kouassi, he was
and
one.
Then
Juranovic, I forgot about Juranovic actually. I feel like is there one that's like just slipped her mind? I feel like there's like one.
Check.
Aye, type it in. I feel like there's one other player who's surely wore the 88 and
like
it's
Jack Aitchison or something.
and we're gonna, I know, and then we're just gonna be like, oh god, we forgot. Go on to transfer market. They've got it good.
Yeah, it's loading, mate.
It's the Wi-Fi. Well, while Ryan loads and looks for episode or number 88s, Lizard one, here we go. Got them all, 3 out of 3. Well done, lads.
Got a wee bit of a blank before the next one. So
Aye, we're nearly at the end. That's us. Nearly finished.
Final countdown.
What am I going to do? How are we going to start each episode? Welcome back to the G4 Claims studio. Welcome back, Kieran Olds. Hello, it's been a while.
I know, it actually is. I was actually checking that. It was just before the cup final, wasn't it? So the cup final preview, which would have been over a month ago.
So our old manager
Not
was
much
here.
has happened.
I know, no much has happened.
What have I missed?
Oh boy, Brendan Rodgers is back here.
It's like that bit at the start of The Walking Dead when Rick Grimes gets up.
Never
and
watched it.
Well, I've only watched like the first 2 episodes or something. But he's up and he's just woke up and it's like an apocalypse. So
right, well, there you go. The apocalypse has started. Kieran, and before that, I've not even introduced you, Ryan, but I'm going to hoard it.
Mate.
Because I need to get the first. Everybody's choking to hear Brendan Rodgers is back. What's your thoughts?
I mean, I was pretty happy with it, to be honest, because I mean, maybe at first when you heard Brendan Rodgers, everybody had to be dismissive thing. Maybe no you, Ryan, because you were an advocate for the get-go.
Yes, thank
but
you.
I mean, like, as the candidate lists emerged, you're like, right, Rodgers is by far and away the best candidate available, and the fact that we went out and got him, I thought was quite a big statement, to be honest. I feel like it's kind of similar. The way he came in the first time, it was a big statement getting Rodgers. I feel like it's an even bigger statement getting him in again, because we could have maybe left the door open a wee bit to the other side of the city if we appointed a manager but that wasn't as such a high calibre as Rodgers. So I think everybody's pretty happy with it. I think you'd be hard pushed to try and find somebody still calling him.
I feel like everybody's just kind of swayed now, haven't they? Like,
we were saying if Rodgers was to come in, it would take a couple of wins to get everybody back on
a couple of words.
that 10-minute interview, see anybody the interview and then 24 hours later or under 24 hours later with the press conference, I feel like anybody that was sitting on the fence were like, oh my god, he's doing it again. You know,
he's got his hook, line and sinker again.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute, because this is the first podcast we've done all together since he's done the press conferences, his interviews, etc, etc. We've got quite a bit to catch up on. On that note, Ryan McGinley, hello, welcome.
Thank you very much. I thought you were going to forget.
No, I had it in my mind the whole time. When you started talking, I was actually like, well, he's just going to start speaking now. But
appreciate it, mate.
How you doing?
Things are good, yeah.
Graduation tomorrow.
It'll already be done. Will it be done by
well,
the time?
this will probably be up about midday or something. So,
jeez, what does that say about the journalism world? I
know,
next year. You know, it's the new breeder then. You know,
God help everybody else.
But no, things are good in the Celtic world. Writing about Celtic every day, can't complain. Good place to be. I know we obviously had the Jota news. We'll get on to that, but I think there's far more positives than negatives at this point in time.
Yeah, I think that you could argue that maybe there's, I don't know, I feel there's a lot of overreactions right now within the support. Some people about people leaving and signings and yada yada, but it's just all part of football. Things change, and certainly that's what Celtic's going through at the minute. We've got a long list of topics for today, ladies and gents. We've got our quizzes, we've got our Twitter questions, so bear with us. We'll try and keep it wrapped up nicely for you, but where do we begin? We've touched on it, so let's talk about Brendan Rodgers a wee bit, because we've got quite a bit to catch up on. He has been formally introduced to the Celtic fans. It's a bit of old news now. It was a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, I was there at the press conference as well. It was good, Ryan, wasn't it?
Bit enough about the handshake.
Yeah. Like, still no wash the horn and all that part. But it was a good introduction. I think that he's went about things probably the best way he could have. None of this dancing around the past, none of the patter, just right into business, and it's looking like an optimistic future for us.
Yeah, and I feel like that's coming off the players as well. Obviously, we'll talk about the contract renewals. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves talking about Brendan Rodgers just now, but he's made it very clear in all his interviews thus far that the achievements in the achievements last season, the achievements 4 or 5 weeks ago, that's all they are now. They're achievements, and now Celtic are now moving into this new era under Brendan Rodgers. He wants to paint his own picture of how this Celtic team's going to work. He's back. I still really can't get my head around it that he's back. I didn't expect him to be back this quickly. I thought he would manage us again at one point. He always left that door open. He'd said that in previous interviews when he was at Leicester. He did leave that door open, but the way it happened, we were all quite down about Ange Postecoglou leaving, but as soon as that was starting to materialise, you could feel the buzz about the place. You're like, getting an elite manager back. He's coming back.
Kept going with every word.
And I think he smashed it in every single media interaction that he's had so far. The 10-minute interview, as we mentioned before, was absolutely tremendous. Yep. I thought there was so many wee tidbits of things that you can take out of that. He's been given assurances. You can tell the recruitment strategy is so much better. He's talking about players that are there. He's talking about the squad that he's inheriting. And in the press conference, he got everything right. He said all the right things. The addressing the fans outside, he said all the right things. I think he's. I just think. Okay.
See you in a bit.
We seem to be dancing near the fact this says, "I'll see you at my 3 years."
I got it. Use the guarantee. I'll never. It was so funny because like we were sitting in the media room while the other press conference was going on in one of the suites. So they had it on in the screen for us, and he's like, "I guarantee I'll be here 3 years," and everybody in the media room just went, "Oh!" And like that was, I don't know if I'm about yours, but that was my reaction.
When he said that, I feel there's a lot of jaws on the floor because I mean, I'm not going to believe it.
There's no point in believing it anymore, is there?
Nah, absolutely no point.
I've got to believe it at this point. He can't afford not to be telling the truth unless incredible circumstances were to come through, like a Liverpool or something, to come back in. And I think
let's not get ahead of ourselves.
He's staying for the 3 years. I'm willing to get my heart broken again, but he's staying for the 3 years.
Ginley's went down the same path as Brendan. Kieran, I'll come at you. Your reactions to his first sort of interactions with the fans, but also I wanted to touch specifically on what Ryan kind of alluded to there in terms of assurances and differences. Every word that he said seemed like there was a massive difference from when he left the club. Now he's coming into a club that's probably got a significantly better squad, you could argue, and one that he wants to get even better to challenge in Europe. What was the vibe that you got from him in the press conference in regard to how we move forward and what's next for the club?
I mean, as McGinley said, it is just that he seems assured and everything, but I was thinking to myself that when you're saying that, like, the very fact he took a job, I think, spoke volumes of the fact that he would have been getting these assurances. You didn't need to hear what he had to say because there was no way he was going to come back under the way things were in 2019 when he left. There was reasons to his departure as well, but I think as you were saying, he's coming into a different Celtic side. I think not even playing wise, but just in the boardroom and that everything seems to be running a lot smoother. And I'm hopeful that he's getting the tools that he needs this time, because if we never backed him the first time round, then we showed that we can back a manager well, like we did with Ange.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason why somebody like Brendan Rodgers shouldn't be coming in and getting the same, if not more, backing, because as we talked about, he's a really high calibre a manager.
You talk about the tools that he needs to keep in place. Let's start very quickly about some of the tools that he has been given, because it was a massive announcement. We didn't even get to touch on this in the podcast, I don't think, the last one. John Kennedy staying, Gavin Strachan staying, Harry Kewell staying. The whole team are staying. They've chose to stay with Brendan Rodgers. Do you think, Kieran, that also speaks volumes about what maybe Celtic's vision is and how these guys now want to sign up for the next step of that? Because a lot of people thought and just presumed they were out the door. John Kennedy was apparently going to be the assistant to Ange, and now he's here. It's encouraging stuff.
I know, when you've got guys like John Kennedy, who's been a brilliant servant to Celtic over the years, finally getting the chance to go down to England. I mean, obviously, he could have went with Rodgers the first time round. He stayed. And then Ange has gone to Tottenham. So you're thinking, surely to God, he leaves with him. Even people like Gavin Stratton, who have only been here for how many years now. So, like, these guys, you were expecting to jump ship with them, because you couldn't really blame them if they're going to be going down and making more money, doing better for their family, but they're obviously invested in what's happening at Celtic. And I think Brendan Rodgers has probably spoke to them and they've bought into the vision that we're talking about, because there has been a lot of talk. It's not been your standard appointment. He's talking about progressing in Europe and that. Like, it seems like they've got a real intent behind the words they're saying, and I think the club should hopefully be following that direction. I'm hoping, as we said, all the tools are there for him. Hopefully get him some good signings. I think a lot of people are starting to get a wee bit panicky on Twitter about transfers and that. Keep in mind we're only a few weeks into.
I mean, it's July now, isn't it? So that's the world is now free to do whatever they like. But we're like, it's the 7th. The time this is, it'll be the 7th of July. It's just, there's still a long way to go here. I don't feel like it's the need for panic. We're going to come on to it, but
I feel like some people seem to think we're in a rebuild or something.
I know.
Like,
I could maybe stretch to the term like renovation. Like we're a couple of players now.
It's not like when Ange came in, we had to get hundreds of players in rapid, because we had to try and build a core squad together going into the season. He's inherited a squad that I've lost Jota, but I mean, for the most part, it's still there. Like.
Kyogo signed a contract, Maida signed a contract.
But he's not coming into a team where he has to build for the ground up. He's got solid foundations, and he can put his own mark, like his own spin on the team. But I think the core group of players is going to stay the same anyway. I don't think there's going to be any major rehaul, and I just don't understand the.
It's typical social media.
No, but it's because they're seeing Rangers signing these players, and I'm like, you don't know anything about them.
No.
The difference is Rangers have to sign these players because they fell behind last season.
And it's like, I think people are forgetting that the shoe is on the other foot for where we were a few years ago. Rangers are going through what we went through in regards to a full overhaul, new manager wanting to do his thing, bring in his own players. That's what we did with fans. Now they're doing it. So why it's not about reacting to what they do. It's about being reasonable.
I mean, we got our business done really early last year, but obviously we couldn't really get that the exact same this time round with a new manager coming in. Obviously the recruitment, it's not completely out of Rodgers' grasp. Obviously he's got maybe a say in it now, I'd imagine, but I mean the recruitment system at Celtic's been pretty much in place for the past couple of years now, and you've got the faith in the recruitment now, because I mean obviously you had your video yesterday and I'd done the wee tier list of Rodgers signings the first time round.
It's the most depressing video I've ever made.
Honestly, as you're talking about, it's baffling how well he done. Like, I mean,
it's a credit to him.
I mean, obviously you've got some brilliant players that came in, like Edward and Dembele and even Sinclair the last couple of seasons, but you look at some of the shite that came in, like the amount of money would be wasted. It's ridiculous.
I don't want to think about it. But he's been right, and that's one of the things he spoke on quite a lot in those opening press conferences. He spoke a lot about Mark Lawwell in particular. He brought his name up a good few times, and that's the thing. You're already seeing this recruitment team in action, because one of the, and we'll come on to talking about him probably, one of the players we're in for is Yang from South Korea, Yang Hyung-jun. And that is evidently part of the system that's in place from beforehand, not just a Rodgers thing or an Ange thing. It's a whole squad, it's a whole team thing now. So it's a good link up, and it'll certainly help Rodgers out.
It seems as if that link or that branch is now stabilised, regardless if Postecoglou was there or not. Obviously he's left to join Tottenham Hotspur, so it's great that it's probably coming from Mark Lawwell now. That is the link between. He worked for 10 years in the City group. I know he had that second name, he had the Lawwell second name, so that'll get him to certain places, but you don't stay for 10 years in the City group unless you're doing a really good job. So he obviously done a really good job there, and now that Asian connection is still there. It's brilliant. It looks as if we're talking about it just now, it looks like as if Yang will happen. Even talking about the players that have decided to stay at the club in Maida and Kyogo, that further keeps that connection going. You're hoping that maybe, and it's very much an if at this point, if Hatate stays, and you can keep that going even further. But it's good to see that we've not completely just abandoned that strategy, because the manager that brought in that strategy in the first place has left the building. It's great that it's getting kept on. You need continuity regardless of how people feel about Ange Postecoglou. You still need a continuity from one manager to the next, and it's great that this is the continuity. Between that and the coaching staff as well, it's great to see the same faces. I wrote a piece saying that we should let Kennedy and Kyogo, but I'm of the opinion that if Brendan Rodgers wants them there, then that's all good for me. Anything that Rodgers wants at this point, you keep this guy happy.
What Rodgers wants, Rodgers
It's
gets.
pure weird, but a bit of wife swap with Chris Davies and
How
John
is
Kennedy.
that? It's mad, isn't it?
And Jedinak makes more sense.
Aye,
to be fair.
he's Australian, isn't he?
Yeah.
So like, I get that.
Never
But
played for Spurs, to be fair.
Davies is a proper weird one though. Like the fact that it's like wife swap.
It looks a wee bit. I don't know how wife swap is a really good way to
It is,
sort of
aye.
sum it up.
We should film it both ways. See how they get on.
Maybe that's what they'll do.
Send a film crew down there. Wife swap
and Davies.
CSC.
Jake Brendan Rodgers comes out with a tear running down his face at press
It's a weird
conference.
one because I saw that he was getting linked to the Swansea City job.
Who, Davies?
Yeah, Davies,
Aye.
but he's obviously taking the assistant manager's job at Spurs. It could be a better job for him down the line, but he's obviously been told, Postecoglou's been told that Chris Davies is a smooth operator, and maybe it's a get your own back at Rodgers for keeping Kennedy.
Do you know what I seen earlier today that I completely forgot happened? And who knows, it might have been foreshadowing. Remember that photo at Hampden a couple of months ago, and Rodgers was there and he was giving the wee thumbs up. Do you think that had anything to do with anything going on?
I don't know. I mean,
It could've.
I mean, it definitely never came out the blue way. Ange got to Tottenham because I remember in uni, like a couple of months prior, the links came out and it was just sort of brushed off. Because I remember I'd done a mad thing for like a radio bulletin on it,
Aye.
like talking about it and how I didn't think Ange would leave, but because
We
I
all
was
said
invested in the Celtic project.
Aye.
But I mean, it might have very well been going on in the
Aye.
background because I mean Tottenham were without a manager for a long
It
while.
was like
weren't they?
before they appointed him, I think they just reached 100 days, just around that mark anyway. So I think they sacked that Italian guy.
Still in
I forgot his name in March. I think they sacked him. So it was a
tried
long
to go for
time.
Arne Slot, and
Anyway, who cares? Fuck them.
it's not a Spurs podcast.
Go
so-
on, Gravy Guzzler. You can do it. I'm joking. I don't hold any bitterness. Best luck, can season starts soon. Right, before we get on to half-time quizzes and all that, let's talk a little bit about what has been going on at the club then, and this can kind of tie into recruitment and such. But one of the biggest stories of the week, and would be foolish to skip over it, was the departure of our beloved Jota. He's gone. Money talks, bullshit walks. The reported deal somewhere between 25 and 30 million pounds. And a contract for Jota that could reach as high as £190,000 roughly. 10 million quid a year.
Tax free as well.
Tax free. I wish I was him. Tell you, I've been a Celtic fan all my life, but if I was getting offered that, I'd be
I really don't
Doggo.
care. If I was getting offered 190 grand a week,
I would be off. See you later. Goodbye. I could be the captain.
I seen somebody on Twitter try to say like, "Oh,
That's
I wouldn't
bollocks.
take that." Absolute shite.
But
shite.
the amount of comments, and I'm caught like I'm respectful of my commenters. I don't like to argue. I let them have their opinion. Everybody's opinion's valid. But there are some people who are trying to hang this flag of pride as if they're like, oh, never in a million years I'd play for Celtic for 10 grand a week before I'd play for them for 190. Pish.
I'm going to just hold my hands up and say I would leave to Saudi Arabia for nearly 200 grand a
I
week.
for one welcome our Saudi Arabian overlords.
This is going to annoy people, but I would be annoyed at Jota. If he
I
never
said
took
that. I'd be
You'd be
questioning his
fucking
sanity
daft if you never
And-
took 190
And people are
grand a
giving
week.
him all the nonsense about. I don't want to say nonsense.
Has he posted a goodbye yet on
No,
Instagram?
he's not actually. No. When will
He'll
that
post
come?
some cryptic photo.
Something trendy. But a lot of people as well giving him a lot of duck for like ruining ambition and not being a proper footballer because he's away to Saudi Arabia and yada
They're acting
yada.
like that's his career over a couple of years there, and then he'll definitely get a move to somewhere.
Exactly.
Fatso done the same in China.
That's right.
He was the same age when he was at Zenit St. Petersburg, or was it somewhere before then? He went to China for
And
a
then
couple
came
of years,
back to
went to Dortmund, and he's a very rich man. He's playing football basically to keep fit.
Aye.
He doesn't need to worry about that for an occupation.
The man eats well.
Do you know what the thing is? Jota is 24. It's not as if he's going in his prime. His prime will be in 3 years' time when he's 27. When he does leave the club, unless he signs an extension. It makes sense to go make your money and then come back, maybe a better player. By that point, the league might have improved as well.
It's got to be. I mean, look at
this.
this time next year. The Saudi Arabian league will probably have.
Could be a trailblazer.
It
when
could
you
be,
think about
you
it.
don't know who's going to be playing there. It could be one of the best leagues.
Jota went to the team with Benzema and
Benzema,
Kante.
Kante, and Nuno's the manager. So
Ian Cathro's the coach.
Is he? Aye. Well, you look at that. You suddenly go to a club like that, and this is we're going to talk about in regards to Celtic in a moment, right? But you look at Jota here for a moment. He's won everything he can here. He's now going over. He's playing with some of the world's best. He's making absolute bank. But suddenly when you do leave that club, you now have all the good work. If you play well anyway, you're going to have all the good words from players like Benzema, Kanté, all the endorsements you need under the sun. Nuno is a good coach, probably has a lot of connections. The eyes of the Portuguese national team are on that league firmly now with Ronaldo and Ruben Neves playing all it. This is it. This is a really sensible move for Jota. It might not have been this time 2 years ago, but it is now.
I didn't even think of that because Neves and that will still be getting called up to the squad. And
exactly.
If they see him in the same league, I never even.
The Portuguese press are all over that league at the minute. And that's what Jota needs.
They share the same agent as well. Ruben Neves, Jota and Ronaldo. They all share. Is it Jorge Mendes, a super agent?
Oh,
it's all part of that.
Jota's agent?
Aye. Yep.
Wow.
He signed up a lot of the Benfica boys. You see that's just smart investments.
Good businessman.
Yeah.
Good businessman.
Because you just know that they're going to...
Do you need to be qualified to be a football agent?
I don't really think you do. No.
So, I mean, like Harry Kane's got his brother, and his only client is Harry Kane.
It must be
any photo in his office. It's just like the photos of his brother on the wall.
That's I remember. It's not quite agent, but I remember Spencer FC was like Vincent Kompany's personal assistant for years.
Is he?
Aye, he was. That was his introduction to football before it, and then he quit to do YouTube. He went up to Vincent. He went up to Vincent. He was like, "Listen, YouTube's doing well for me, mate." Aye, that's apparently the reason that he was FIFA Ninja was because that was when he was with company and he couldn't reveal his identity. Right. So then he was like, "Right, I'm going to go full time with the YouTube. See you later, Vincent," and became Spencer FC. Well, good on him, I suppose. But daft side note, he's gone. It's a lot of money though for Celtic. It's a huge move. It's now a Scottish record transfer for outgoing.
If it's 30 million euros, then that's just over 25. Well, it was nearly 26 million.
Aye, so
I think it's like 25.8.
Huge amount of money, Kieran, that Celtic have made. It's a shame to lose a player of that quality, but I mean, we had this conversation in the group chat the other day. Players like Larson have left us. I'm sure life goes on without Jota.
See, it's a kick in the balls, to be fair, because Jota obviously looked like the level we needed for Champions League, and obviously everybody's going to want us to go out and sign a player of that level. But see, a lot of people seem to think that the answer is just throwing like £15 million at a player. I'm not saying we don't do that. If it's the right player, do it. But can you just imagine the pressure that the player that we break the record for over by about £5 million? If we were to go and spend on that rider or whatever, if we spend 15 million quid on it, fans are trying to tell me he won't get fucking Doug's abuse if he doesn't play amazing for the get-go. So I would not want that pressure on my shoulders, because you've seen big fees get put on players and have been god awful all over world football. I mean, which to say, it's a cauldron here. It's a pure goldfish bowl if you don't perform to that level straight away, and we've spent record money on somebody. Everybody will be on his back, and I'm not saying it's justified, but I'm just saying that's how it's going to happen.
See, that was the good thing with Jota, obviously, because we signed him in loan, and then we knew what we were getting when we spent the £6 million. But we don't have that same luxury right now, so it's a massive gamble.
Because I mean, everybody wants to go. I would love us to go out and spend big money. I'd love us to take that next step up and start spending more, so we're not as restricted. But that's the risk you take. You could go out and spend big money on somebody, and it doesn't work yet. So it's a massive gamble, and I've seen a lot of talk. I'll probably come on to whether or not we'll break the record this summer on that. A lot of people seem to think that we need to because of the money we've got in. I reckon this probably won't change the recruitment that was already planned this summer. I don't think because we've got this money they're going to say, oh fuck it.
Aye.
Unless somebody was already in the pipeline, they'll think they're just at a reach now we can afford them. We're not going to just go out and everybody wants a marquee signing.
It's not like you're going in career mode and then putting like minimum overall 83, go for him.
No, but everybody wants a marquee signing. It's always a nice feeling, but I don't think we're going to go out of way just to do it, like for the sake of it. I think if the right player comes up, but I just wouldn't want to be that player with the pressure they're going to get heaped on them. I think I really can't put into words how bad I think that could go.
There's no point in going out and signing a guy and just being performative and just doing it for the sake of breaking the record. It's got to fit in the system. I'd much rather Celtic go and sign two £8 million players and a £16 million player and hedge their bets in different parts. They're going to make profits in other areas, probably going to make profit off a Frimpong sell-on. We've got loads of assets littered all over the team at the moment. I think now we have signed two projects, and we'll probably get on to talk about them in Home and Tilio, but I want us to get maybe 2 or 3 Champions League ready players, players that are going to just accelerate this team. And that one of them has to be a defensive midfielder for me. You've got to get a destroyer in there.
A destroyer.
Not a destroyer, like a graceful destroyer, if you get what I mean. Somebody that will put out fires, but also can play. What?
Like Batista.
A beautiful destroyer.
I get Batista right in the middle of the park. But it's a tough one because Jota leaving is undoubtedly like, right, okay, we getting a player to match him. Like, who knows? Telio might come in and Jota came in with like this is the thing that pisses me off a little bit about like Celtic Twitter and social media and all the rest of it. Everybody's going on. I've seen a few people like, Telly was nowhere near the level of Jota, blah blah blah. Like, nobody fucking knew what Jota was going to be when he came in. There's, for all we know, Telly comes in, he's just as good. He might not be, but you can't just suddenly disregard anybody. Like, Jota came in as an under-21s player at Benfica who was playing for Real Valladolid the year before. Yep. I mean, if we went and signed another player from Real Valladolid now, they'd probably be like, this is the guy who fills Jota's boot.
The South Korean winger.
Aye.
It's exactly that. People said, I think he got like two goals and assists or something like that. It's shocking. I'm like, look at Jota's.
Jota's was minging before he came to Celtic.
He was playing in a better league than that. I'm like, this boy that we're signing for South Korea, his team's like fighting relegation now.
So part of that definitely is though the fact that Benfica is just a more exotic team in it. Like, people are like, he's playing for the Benfica academy, whereas Gang Won doesn't quite carry the same.
I just don't get the pure, like, it seems like a pure snobbery again. I'm like this, it's pure like shades of like the summer of 2021 when we signed Kyogo and that, and like uncertainty about these leagues and that. Surely put a bit of faith in the recruitment.
I think, do you know what's really no help though? The fact that the last couple like haven't really came on to too strong a game. I think that's maybe like, but then I'm like, you've got to remember like at the tail end of the season and think of the guys that have been a success. Think of your Kyogos, think of your Hitatis, like, and we just suddenly forgetting we signed these guys from the same pool.
Hitati and that benefited for the fact they came in and they were instant starters, whereas you look at players like Iwata and Kobayashi and even like they weren't getting really a for the team for ages.
The Iwata one, I feel as if Iwata's been lumped in with Kobayashi.
I know, I've seen that a lot recently.
And all of a sudden people were saying, I don't want us to take him permanently. I'm like, well, first of all, it doesn't really work like that because we've got an obligation to buy. He's our player. The next day, there was pictures of him in training.
And people were like screenshotting it saying, get this guy out, sell this guy.
I understand the grievances towards Kobayashi because he didn't look convincing in that run of games. Iwata, apart from the one mistake he made against St Mirren, he's not put a foot wrong. He strolled the cup final. I know we were playing against Inverness, but I think in every game he's looked really, really good.
I think he's been fine.
I feel like the two players have been lumped together because maybe they've came from the same place, they were in the same transfer window, but I feel like it's really harsh. I know I was just talking about us getting a holding midfielder, but I still think Iwata can do a job.
I think he'll benefit for getting a full pre-season under him. Because see the way Hitachi was brilliant for us, and then sort of petered off like that first 6 months he was here. Then in that pre-season last year, I remember watching him against teams like Blackburn and Norwich. I'm like, I know it's just against these English jobbers, but like it looked unreal, and then he went on to have a fucking amazing season for us.
And that's you're right, Kieran. The word that you use, snobbery, is like, I feel like a lot of our fans online are now doing the thing that we were giving grief to the Rangers fans for when we were signing these players. And I'm like, well, do you not realise you're just doing the same thing now? But that's what I mean. Like the point I'm trying to make it around Jota, like, we will find somebody. It's not like this is the end of the world. Better players have come and gone, and players who have been vastly more important to the team have come and gone. But it is now about just making sure you take that next step to ensure this European ambition is met, Ryan, because you need to, and it doesn't need to be a £15 million statement as you and Kieran have touched on, but if we are serious about it, you want to see the money invested in areas to actually now challenge that European dream.
Yeah, and even that point that I was saying is I don't want us breaking the transfer record for the sake of it. I do still think on the other side, in terms of Jota, you're going to need to replace him with somebody either a loan with an option to buy or a permanent signing. It can't be a free transfer. I don't think El Yunusi would wash with the fans at all. As a number 2 option, yes.
Let's talk about that very quickly. I'm glad you brought it up. What's your thoughts on this El Yunusi stuff?
Take him as a second choice. Well, actually, does he have a space now? He couldn't be the first choice for me. He couldn't.
Nah, because I feel like he's not going to come in and be a starter.
And now,
Because he'll definitely go. He'll find a club that will take him as
aye.
a starter. But I just think Celtic's the right move for him. And
and Celtic have just signed another or renewed the contract of another left winger. So
I
one of
don't
those
think.
ones.
I don't think he's just. I don't think he's going to come to Celtic and B. I don't think we should bother. That's been my opinion towards
I
it.
think-
It's not like I'm
I think
like,
the time
no,
has passed. I think.
Aye,
Right.
let it go. Let it go.
I'm
But
glad that he pulled on the Celtic jersey
Aye,
because
absolutely.
there was always that what if after the Mulder performances. Remember when he tore us apart at home and away, and I think that was in Dyla's last season in charge. But yeah, it's got to the point where he would demand to be first choice, and I think we need to have. I mean, I know he's 28 years old, which is not old, but I think we do need somebody younger on that side.
so you're Kieran, you go. Sorry.
Would you say like, El Yunusi for me isn't it like the Champions League standard? I think like
No, because we had him in
because
Europe,
it's like it was in Europa League and that it was alright, but as you said, he's 28, so it's like if you're signing somebody 28, you want them to be 28 and
Champions League
will
ready.
make improvers in the Champions League, and it makes it feels like we're making El Yunusi was shite for us, because I mean he wasn't a
loved
world
him.
beater,
Aye.
but he was good.
Double
But-
digits in scoring both seasons.
So it's like he's still done alright in a very, very poor Celtic team in the 10 in a row field.
I feel like there's just more that the club can do with their money now to
Aye.
maybe get us on our feet.
I feel like it
a wee
would be
bit.
a lazy
Aye.
sort of
Aye.
transfer, to be honest.
It doesn't make sense with regards to the policy either, the transfer strategy that Celtic are now going for. Yes, there are exceptions to that rule. One very big one, in which we'll talk about probably in the next 5 minutes in terms of his contract extension, but there's players that you just don't go with that you don't go with that strategy for. There are exceptions to the rule, but I think on the main you need to bring in somebody that's ages probably 21 to 24 that you can sell on for a profit in a couple of years. It's just all about keeping the finances going.
Yeah.
Yes, if there's I think you've got to keep that balance. Get a young player out wide, but somebody that you can sell on in a couple of years as well.
So before we get into the half-time portion of the show, is there any more thoughts you want to put on the table about Jota's departure and just kind of that surrounding that with Celtic stuff? He's the only notable departure so far this summer, isn't he? Am I forgetting anybody? Is there
I
anybody?
mean, obviously Moy retired.
Oh
but
God, Moy retiring, Forgot about that.
I kind of expected it for a while, to be honest, but
God bless him.
with the
That
injury
rumour was-
rumours and
Aye,
that.
that rumour wasn't going away, was it?
No, but in general, any final thoughts towards the Jota stuff?
Jota. No ill will or ill thoughts to him at all. I don't blame him for going
No,
on that
not
move.
at all.
Some great memories, some massive goals, big game player. He'll be remembered very, very fondly, regardless if he puts out an Instagram farewell message or not. I know some people will hold that against him, but he's probably a bit of a busy boy just now. I hope he smashes it over there. I hope he makes lots of money, because there was not a single time when you could accuse him of not putting in 100% effort. He never of not putting in 100% effort. I did say that. Complete consummate professional, great player. Shows that the model works in terms of transfers, and I wish him all the best.
Kieran, any fond thoughts that you'd like to share?
I mean, as Ryan said, he's a big game player. Popped up when we needed him most. He came into a Celtic squad that was lacking in any flair or any enjoyment to watch, and he was a main factor, I think, in sort of bringing back the spark to enjoying watching Celtic after a horrific season. So I mean, I think in our lifetimes anyway, it'll be hard. You'll be hard pushed to find a player that had that sort of like Miggy Day sort of confidence on the ball, like
that flair factor.
But I mean, we're talking about I wouldn't hold any ill will at all. I mean, if you're getting offered nearly £200,000 a week, you need to go and take that. And it's not like Celtic have been shafted. It's like 25 million quid.
Aye.
I mean, I reckon I would have probably valued them more, but I don't know if that's just me being biased.
It definitely is us being biased in it, because there's no way any English team is going to pay.
They're not going
anyone.
to pay that.
Aye.
I think after the Juranovic fee that we got, I was like, maybe I need to just slow down on the numbers that we get. But I just want to talk, just quickly, that he scored one of the most important
No, I
goals.
was going to come at us and ask for like a favourite. Would what you're going to see be your favourite Jota moment?
I think it's the most important for
Right,
me.
well, I'm going to go across the table and I'll let you start, Ryan,
Okay.
because you were in the middle of it. I was going to ask anyway.
I think you've got to go back to the time in which this goal took place. Massive goal in Postecoglou's first season. One each at Pataudry, and he steps up. Montgomery, I think, gets the assist, who's now moved to Fleetwood. I think it's arguably the biggest goal in Postecoglou's Celtic career.
I think you could have that
Gave us the
conversation.
first away win in 8 months or something.
The first one since February, I think it was Valentine's Day we'd
And it
won.
was October that game, wasn't it?
Yeah, we were 6th place at that point.
Aye.
We needed that win to keep it going, and it was very much in the sort of balance of whether or not we were going to get it. Montgomery, I remember, also had a stinker that whole game, but that one cross that he put in, Jota went absolutely mental.
Would you say that's your favourite Jota moment?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
looking back on it, hindsight is a massive. Apart from, well, I don't want to name any other goals,
No,
but there's
well,
a few other ones.
I like
that-
Kieran.
I mean, I've got a couple, but I mean, obviously the one that's got to be is the dink, in the 4-0 game.
Aye.
I mean,
That's
that was
where
just
Larson.
one of the best technical goals I think I've seen in person. But another favourite for me, it just popped into my head, was Leverkusen.
Oh, you
away.
stole mine, man. That was going to be mine.
It's just such a clean strike of the ball, man.
I love that
and
goal.
just pure
Taking your
pandemonium.
pint out
I
you
know.
and chucking it and
But it was just pure pandemonium. That
that
win,
was,
man.
I mean, despite the final result
know,
of the
but I
game,
mean,
but
if you
that
forget the
moment,
rest of the
yeah,
game,
isolate
but-
that moment as my
Aye.
favourite. That's just, I love it. And it was a crying goal as
I
well.
know,
It wasn't even a
took it
good
really
tap
well.
in. It was a good goal.
The brazen header was good as well.
Aye. Well, best of luck to you, Jota. Fair play, and go make
What a
that
signing.
Go make
What
that,
a signing,
Go make
you
that
know.
cash, boys.
Thinking about the profit as well.
Yeah. Aye.
Profits
Right.
all around.
Let's get our half-time quiz. I don't even know what Kieran. Have a peek here. Can you read the numbers? How long will we be gone?
37 minutes.
Oh my life, this is barely half time, right? We're going to have to fly through the next couple of topics after this. Let's get into the half time quiz. And it's one of the Ryan gave us Craig, McGinley, and Kieran all teas today, which, as you all know, I give you a clue, you guess, you get it wrong, you're frozen out.
Right, so.
Yada, 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 etc.,
Been a while.
etc. Yes.
The names of the games never really help us. You need to.
Aye, aye. Well,
Very
and
long-winded.
on that note, big shout out to Kieran, who obviously makes all of our quizzes. I was telling Kieran in the car, Ryan, he is going all out for the next season.
Aye.
All out. A lot of the games, we're going to have new quizzes, we're going to have new games, we're going to have
Mr. Smythe.
we're going to have fit fat foes, we're going to have tic tac toes, we're going to have guess the commentary line, we're going to have we've got tons in the pipelines, and I'm going to get Marcin with making graphics and sound effects and all that for them. So
Love that, absolutely love that.
So right,
Some effort, mate.
okay, he's ready for today's. The clue is for today's that. Well, actually, the clues are in the whole point. He's giving you clues. Right, he's ready for clue one. Okay, I have been managed by Brendan Rodgers, Roy Keane, and Neil Warnock. So I have been managed by Brendan Rodgers, Roy Keane, and Neil Warnock. That's your first one. Remember, you can guess if you just want to, but you'd be frozen out for the next one.
I need another clue.
Straight on to the second clue, aye. Okay, second clue. I have played with Robert Earnshaw, Aidan McGeady, and John Lundstrom. So I've been managed by Brendan Rodgers, Roy Keane, and Neil Warnock, and I have played with Robert Earnshaw, Aidan McGeady, and John Lundstrom.
Interesting.
Once again, if you don't want to hazard a guess, we can go into the next clue unless you feel like you want a pop. Nah.
Got to be another one.
No, next clue. I have played my football in Asia and the United States. So obviously outside of Celtic, he's played other places, but he's had spells in Asia and the United States in this clue. Don't know if that helps you, if you can think of anybody. You're definitely going to get it on the last clue, but you've got two more after this.
I need another one.
I know, I'm honestly drawn a blank.
See, because the last time we did this,
Aye.
I get my fingers burnt, so
Aye.
I don't want to go all
That
in.
was a very interesting thing you done with your hands there, Brian.
What was it?
You don't know, you just said you were doing something with your hands, your fingers, and
Dunno.
aye, you watch it, boy. And this clue, this is the one before the last clue. So what I will say is, if you feel like you can get it, it might be worth hazarding a guess. Obviously, you'd freeze yourself out if you get it wrong, but I think the last one's going to make it a race for who says it first.
Okay.
So this is your second last clue. I have scored in an Old Firm derby at Hampden. So, I've been managed by Brendan Rodgers, Roy Keane, and Neil Warnock. I have played with Robert Earnshaw, Aidan McGeady, and John Lundstrom. I have played my football in Asia and the United States, and I have scored in an Old Firm derby at Hampden.
Is this a Celtic player?
Yeah, it is a Celtic player, yes. No point in the quiz, Ryan, isn't it, to be a former Celt. If you want to go into the last
Neil Warnock.
clue.
So, what are the managers? Neil Warnock.
Neil Warnock, Brendan Rodgers, and Roy Keane.
At Hampden?
At Hampden. Kieran's face says it all. This is a difficult one. I wouldn't get this up to this point.
I still don't think it's going to be a race on the last one.
Oh, trust me, it should be.
Neil Warnock.
It's all right, man. You don't need to take all day, mate.
Nah,
Every time I can Neil Warnock, I'm
he's
just seeing him
ready
walk
for.
towards
He's
the
ready
camera.
for the last clue.
Die for 3 points.
He's ready.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Your last clue. I have a great affiliation with men from New Zealand called Chris.
Chris Kevin.
That's not the answer. If that was your answer, because
No, I was just saying.
I have a great
So
affiliation.
darn a day.
Yeah, hey, well done.
I was actually trying to remember who was it that scored in that 2-0 against them in the League Cup in
well
2009.
done. So, just to run through it very quickly,
did.
Darn Day was managed by Brendan Rodgers at Reading,
Aye,
Roy Keane at Ipswich, and Neil Warnock at Leeds. He played with Robert Earnshaw at Toronto, Aidan McGeady at Celtic and Ireland, and John Lundstrom at Blackpool. God, Darn Day got a boot, didn't he? And
He played in Ukraine as well.
he played for Mumbai City in Asia and Toronto, obviously Toronto in the. I know Toronto's not in the United States before any. He's get cocky, right? They play in the MLS. Cup final against Rangers in 2009,
cool.
and then finally, of course, he was caught winching Chris Killen, which to this day I still need explained. But aye, he's caught winching Chris Killen in the airport. So there you go. There
Was
was
that an
your-
airport?
I think it was it looked like an airport to me.
It was like a rom-com soon who runs from it again.
Well, see, they're
boarding a flight to
they're
Auckland.
both in like their trackies, aren't they?
I don't know.
I
I thought it was after a night out or something.
Pull it up. Where's our producer? Pull it up.
Pull up Darno Day, winching Chris Killen.
Type that into Google. I don't know.
Don't type Chris Killen into Google.
How?
He's been done.
Is he? When?
This was years ago. But
Oh, third one.
I can't remember. It's
I don't want to make false allegations on the show, but wow, didn't know that. Well, don't look up Chris Killen then, apparently. I thought we were going to say he'd done a porno or something.
No, it's one of those ones. You check his personal life on Wikipedia.
Wikipedia, aye. You love a Wikipedia search, you, don't you?
I can go on those searches.
Right, before we get on to the full-time quiz and the Twitter questions, let's very quickly discuss some of the other big news that came out this week. Kyogo's got a new 4-year deal.
That's massive.
Massive. And Dyson Maeda, a couple of hours before we got in here tonight, he was signing a new contract too. Kieran, your thoughts?
I mean, with the Kyogo one, we've sat and spoke about it before, about if there was any player you would have maybe thought, because his age, would have stayed here for his prime years, it would have been Kyogo, because I feel like it was a sort of now or never this summer. And the fact we've signed up for the contract, I think, is huge, because that's surely the statement of intent that he's here for as long as he can do a job. I mean, unless he has an incredible season next year and some team takes a punt on him. But I mean, even in that instance, we've secured ourselves by giving him a long-term deal. So I think it's massive, because we talk about players no staying here for long periods of time anymore. One's of real quality, but you're hoping that this contract should be Kyogo at Celtic now, because I feel like a lot of teams aren't going to pay the money we're going to be asking from him. He has that many years left in his contract because of his age. I'm kind of hoping that leaves us in the perfect spot where we can have him for as long as we want him, because until his legs start working, I think until he loses that pace, I think he's going to be an asset up front for us. And defenders in the league can't handle him like the past 2 seasons. So I mean, I've seen a lot of people, like Rangers fans, seemingly happy that we've signed him up and we're not signing somebody else. I'm like, are you joking?
Never learn.
The amount of goals he scored
Aye.
against them.
Optimistically speaking as well, and maybe hypothetically speaking, you could say, that guarantees him here till he's 32. Now, they're the prime years of his career. He's scored 50 odd goals in 80 odd games. You're talking about someone now who seriously is here to secure that best since Larsson thing that we always talk about. But you're talking about somebody who's coming in, not to, I don't want to go say as far as challenge Henrik Larsson, but somebody who could have a record that is just as impressive by the time he's done.
The conversations can start if he stays and he keeps up the same goal scoring record that he has done. You got to remember, his goal scoring record the season before was good, but he was out injured for 3 months. Last season, I think we just seen the start of how good Kyogo can be.
Yeah.
We're now going to get him. I don't think he's going to go anywhere now. Now, I think as long as he is wanted at Celtic, then he is going to stay here, and he's in the prime of his career. If they bring in, if they after that trial period and they bring in that offside rule, he'll score double, because they're just that. When he's offside, his runs are so good. If there is daylight between what he can do and he can just be just that, I know he would be offside just now, with the interpretations of the rule, but if they were to change that,
Aye.
think about the runs that he could get and the runs that he could get on the end of and goals. I'm absolutely delighted. It's like us signing a £20 million striker for me, because I think that's what his valuation is now.
Oh, he's unbelievable. I mean, there's no two
Celtic
ways
have got
about
him
it.
now. Celtic have got him for the prime of his career. I think those conversations with Larsson can start.
Kieran, with him staying, and obviously amongst everything that's happening with the new manager, it's also a huge show of faith, isn't it? Because obviously the manager, and I don't think anybody doubted that he was going to be the starting striker next year, but there's always that wee bit in your head that goes, right, will he be a Rodgers striker? Will he play as much? Will he do the same
I
thing?
think he's just too good for him.
Not to
Rodgers to change it. Like, I think maybe this is something that Rodgers never had in his first time, a striker that offers that. Maybe that's something he's not really thought about too much in his style of play, but now he can adapt into it, because there's no point in just bringing in another striker because, this fits my system better. Like, you see the results, like you can see how good it can be. I just think Kyogo's unreal, and just thinking back to the time when we were having the debate, I think it was in the World Cup break when everything went really quiet with Celtic, and then people started making it as if Kyogo was pish.
God,
Giakoumakis.
is that when he went like dry for a couple of weeks?
Probably didn't
Aye.
but
He was like
2 games
and then people go, he's not scored since then, and then he came back for the World Cup break and scored in like near enough every game. Like,
Do you know what really is eye-opening amongst conversations like that? It's like they've brought out this new Threads thing. I think it's just time for me to just give up social media when I think back to conversations like that. I know it's proper nuts though, because I remember it now that you say it. Like, I remember people saying, maybe Kyogo's not the player we made him out to be. And
then the debate that Giakoumakis was the better striker, and why was Giakoumakis the better striker? They
He was a
offered
good striker,
I know,
but-
but they offered different things, and there's a reason why Kyogo was starting and he wasn't.
One's in the MLS, one will be playing in the Champions League. I think that's all you need to say.
Now, a good point that Kieran brought up there in terms of like Rodgers adapting, etc., etc. I made this point in my video the other day, and I want to just bring it in the podcast, see what you think. I'm not saying they're like for like players and they're the exact same, but I think there's a lot of attributes from like Jamie Vardy's
I was
game.
gonna make that point
A
2 minutes ago.
lot of points for Jamie Vardy's game, and you've got to remember Vardy was arguably at his best before Rodgers went to Leicester, right? But the first couple of years he was still quality for Leicester, quality for Rodgers. His movement, his pace, his finishing are the 3 things in his game that stand out the most, because he was fucking rapid, outran defenders, and was good at moving into these like areas where he could or couldn't be offside. Kyogo does that really, really well. So, you know, people might say like, he's nothing like Dembele, Edouard, any strikers that came before him with Brendan Rodgers in charge, but evidently Rodgers likes all kinds of strikers, right?
Yeah, you just wonder if Rodgers could potentially get a formation going that and Kyogo could play in the same team, because I know that Jamie Vardy and Kelechi and Acho, they both played in the same team for a couple of seasons. I know they reverted to having maybe one up front, and they played Pats and Daka for the sort of last 2 seasons. But if there's a chance to be able to play the two of them, the two could probably play with each other so well. They've got different attributes that they could bring. I can't think of anyone better for O to learn off of than Kyogo. Kyogo, I think, is such a polished striker. He understands the role that he has to play, especially playing as the lone man up front. His movement is second to none. It's the best. In terms of me watching Celtic, it's arguably the best movement I've ever seen in a striker. I don't really remember Larsson that much. I remember bits and bobs with him, but Kyogo just blows my mind watching him. To have him for his prime career, for the prime of his career, I think Brendan Rodgers likes working with good players at the end of the day, and I think calling Kyogo just a good player is doing him a disservice. That can't even speak. Disservice, because I think he's a great player, especially in the Scottish League. He is head and shoulders the best striker in the league. I think he's a top level Europa League striker, if not maybe a Champions League striker. He still needs to prove himself on that stage. But I think that's why he's here. I think that's why he signed a new deal. He wants to prove himself.
I think he probably has got something in his own head about trying to a bit of redemption for like the missed chances that were happening in the Champions League last year. I think a lot of players are going to be that were here last year are going to have that in their head, because it was always a what if we just took chances, because it just felt like games were getting wasted, especially the ones against Shakhtar Donetsk. Like, they ones were frustrating as fuck, because I think we could have won the both of them, especially the one in Poland. That was
annoying, that game.
Like
That left angry.
That did piss me off. That felt like a defeat, just because of how many late chances we had as well. And
Kieran, you're pissing.
I know, but I mean, we'll get more into this season's Champions League campaign as the weeks drag on and summer and we get closer to it. But I think just thinking about Kyogo, but it's like I remember the first couple of games watching him. You just had the sort of feeling that he's going to be something special. And if as Ryan was saying, if he can keep this up, and he's committed, hopefully he's committed now with that contract, his best years of his career to Celtic, he could cement himself in the club's history big time. So I think he would love that, because he seems to love it at Celtic. The way all the players speak about him as well, is like, they can't speak more highly of him. So it's, I don't know. I think it's just brilliant to tie them down, and then obviously coming to my age.
Not to compare Japanese players or that, but I don't think he's far off being the best ever Japanese player.
He's not at all, is he? Like,
Nakamura was great.
Nakamura will always have that advantage of the nostalgia factor.
He's the cult hero. The cult hero. He's a great player as well.
He was fantastic. But as a conversation from the other day,
it's great to be able to have that conversation because we'll have that body of work to talk about with Kyogo. He'll have stayed for, if he stays out the duration of his deal, which you're hoping he does a Larson and does stay out for the duration, then he'll have 6 years of a body of work.
Then he gets his move to Barcelona right at the end.
Wow.
Right, Mike as well.
Sorry, just one more thing. If there was one player I wouldn't want us to lose between Jota and Kyogo, it would have been Kyogo. I'd have been more keen on keeping Kyogo. I think he's just that important.
Right, fair. Bidenstein though as well, 4-year contract for him, 2027. So another show of confidence in a player, and obviously commitment on his part to the club. One that I didn't really expect. I didn't see that coming. But
I wasn't.
Welcome it.
I don't know if I was in the mindset that I thought Celtic weren't going to be in a rush to town them because there wasn't any interest or something like that. But I feel like it's probably better to preempt it, because I don't think Maeda's exactly going to have a hungry season. I think he'll do well under Rodgers. I think he'll be utilised pretty well. And in terms of, he's not got the same sort of thing about him where we're worried we're going to lose him. I feel like he's somebody that flat goes under the radar a wee bit, and I think probably that'll be the case in terms of other clubs watching him. I'm not saying there won't be any out there, but I was saying to you in the car, Ryan, like, to me, Maeda doesn't strike me as the sort of player that's going to attract Premier League interest or